Hey there YouTube, Isaac here. Today we are going to be making a sticker because I have a friend that requested that I make her a sticker so she can give it as a birthday present for one of her friends. The reason why I want to do the video is it's a very simple introduction to the process of making an image into a vinyl sticker if you have a vinyl plotter, cutter. And I'm going to be using Inkscape, which is a free piece of software. The image that I sourced came from Google Images, right there. It's just the first flamingo that showed up as a silhouette when I did flamingo silhouette. I checked the link. It's a link to a Pinterest search. So I'm not very familiar with Pinterest more than just it's a great place for images. So you can find this on your own if you're interested in sourcing the exact image that I used. Go back over here. This is Inkscape. I already opened it up. And we will take said image and I'm just going to drag and drop it in. It gives me options to do stuff with said picture. I don't need those options. I've got it in outline mode. Let's go to view. As a vinyl worker, you'll spend a lot of time in outline mode because you don't really need to see a lot of the colors. You're only working with a black and white silhouette and ultimately the lines in each color layer. This isn't like a print process. There's printing vinyl. I don't have a vinyl printer, so yet. So I won't be going through anything to make a more detailed printed image at the moment. But we've got our picture in here. You could also bring it in through File, Import, I do believe. I drag and drop everything. It's just easier. If a software doesn't have it, I don't generally use it unless I absolutely have to because it has a special feature. Now, one of the things is when you take a... Click it. Come on. Why do you not love me? Select said object. There we go. When you have an image that's a picture and you want to turn it into a vector image, which is mathematically defined boundaries that are then filled kind of like a mold for ink or paint to be poured into to make a color shape. Then there's a lot that can be done with vector, and we'll go over more of it in the future, partly as I get better at it. I was trained to do more Photoshop type work until the last few years of my art career in the computer. I used vector very rarely. If you're like me, this will be a nice entryway into what to do. But one thing that's nice about Inkscape, and you get this from more expensive softwares as well, and on a more complex image it works better in the more expensive software, but for freeware you can't complain. Underneath the path they have an option called Trace Bitmap. It also has a hotkey of Shift-Alt-B. You click that, and I've got it gives you the option for a live preview so that as you play with these settings, which I did a test run, and the settings don't need to be dialed at all for this image in this instance. But these settings will give you controls, and this will allow you to see what the image will look like as a vector image when it's finished being converted. I'm just going to click OK. Like I said, this is a simple project. Once I click OK, you saw it before when it was in outline mode, that there was nothing on the page except for a big red X, and now it's just a big red X. Okay, that did not work. Let's see why. Path. It's nice when something goes wrong because, oh, Maybe it did work and it's just thinking. Are you thinking? Are you being stupid? Yeah, let's shrink this up a little. I'm working off of a touchpad too, which is not ideal generally for doing graphics work, but I just didn't feel like breaking out the mouse for a couple simple stickers. Click OK. So this silhouette shape right here was generated when it drew around the black object, which if I go back to normal view mode, oh, Control 5 to toggle, good to know. And it doesn't love me. Something's screwy. But you'll see that the black image is still there, but this one is no longer the raster image. This is what it looks like when that line plate, the line template, is filled with a color. I can change this color somehow to, and see, it's this kind of fun. You get to see me mess around with new software and figure out how to do things, and for some reason there's like zero love for me on this right now today. There we go. Well, we'll just click it, and it worked this time. Now that changed the fill color. Where is, I want to change the line color. Maybe that would be right click. Fill. Oh well, if you right click, it gives you options. That's cool. Set fill, set stroke. So if we set stroke, it would also change that. And it looks like, yeah. Okay, so the silhouette that was made did not destroy the original raster image. That confused me because when I got used to doing this in Adobe Illustrator, and when you use it in Illustrator, it changes the raster image into a vector image and gets rid of the raster base. So if we go over here to display mode, I want to see if that toggle works. Control 5. Nope, I cannot get that to work. I will definitely have to check that. Zoom. No, display mode. Yeah, see, that should be working. But you can see that the raster image is still defined by the red X'd box that shows the square shape of the image with a cross section so that you can tell that which side of the square lines are filled, say if you had a large number of these on a page because you were doing something more artistic and less functionally technical. So I don't need this, and if I can get it to select this, that would be super awesome. Okay, I just did Control A to select all, and then Shift and selected the flamingo, and there goes the raster with the delete key. So now if we can get our zoom to go back to 100%, oop, 10, 100. Now see, for my purposes, I've got another piece of software that I'm going to be going through. Oh my god, nothing selects. That's probably easier to do. Drag select is your old standby. I'm just going to position that relatively in the center, hit Control S to bring up the save options, or Control Shift F to save as, and then we're going to go flamingo underscore bent underscore knee. And SVG saves this file. I'm also going to do Control Shift S to save as and switch this to a PDF format because I had issues with bringing SVGs from Inkscape into Vinyl Master Cut, which is a piece of software I have that came with my vinyl cutter. It is a licensed piece of software. I don't know if this is something that you can get for free or if there's a trial version or whatnot, because I got it with the equipment. But I opened up a new page in here, and now I'm going to go back to where I saved these, which my organizational system is going to go under a restructure soon. I just don't think that's something worthy of doing a video, and I don't have too much flaming vent. Wow, I misspelled, and that's funny. Drag that in there. Again, I love that drag and drop feature. If something doesn't drag and drop, I'm usually not going to use it. And what that does is it just brings in the vector stuff itself, which is why the placement on the page in this instance was not that important. If you had boundaries for the page, or if you're using the page size as the size reference for this, it would be different. But in this case, it just automatically shrank to the only vectorized imagery in the file. Now, for my purposes, I want to come over here to this Objects, Properties, and Materials menu. It's hidden under the Tools arrow tab. Took me a little bit to figure that one out. And come down here to Rotate, type in 90, and hit Enter. This way, I'm spending less vinyl on the process of cutting it because it's so tall, and I only plan on making a couple of them. It's never a bad idea to use redundancy in case one of your cuts doesn't come out right, especially when you're only making a few custom designs. So I'm going to drag down 2 rulers by clicking on the bar and pulling them down. I set the first one to 0, which probably isn't necessary, but by putting that constraint, it makes it easier to ensure that when I resize this, it goes to the size I want. I'm sure I could also mathematically resize it on its own image settings, but I would rather do it this way because then I have a visual guide to check. Now, I take out my handy dandy piece of metric and standard tape measure segment from a broken tape measure. It was really cool when I'm standing here at the computer making size estimations for how big I want it. So I figure if I make it about 15 centimeters wide, I like working in metric. It's much easier to do math stuff, and since everything in the computer runs off of a decimal point and multiples of 10, it's just a better measurement system. I'm thinking 15 centimeters, that makes it about yay wide, which will probably make it about 30 centimeters tall, I'm guessing. And that means that I can fit roughly 2 of these on one cut, which is about all I should need. And if both of them turn out alright, I'm thinking I'll probably use the second one as a giveaway for the channel. So those of you who want a pink flamingo, cross your fingers in the future for things to work today while I'm shooting this. But we come over here and I go 150 because 150 millimeters is 15 centimeters. We go boom, that sets the second ruler line to the 150 millimeter mark. And you'll see soon that this also doesn't really, and it snapped right up there to the top. Let's actually snap it in the corner. Come on. You know you love me. There we go. And boom. Alright. So we take this, drag it down, and in this instance, because I'm using confining lines, I'm not worried about the size being irregular. And here it goes, 281.988 millimeters by 150 millimeters. So yeah, just under 300 millimeters or 30 centimeters. That is a very nice and fairly large flamingo. That will be, let's see, quickest way to tell you, almost 6 inches wide and almost 11 inches tall. That's a big flamingo. Okay, slight change of plans. My friend just got in touch with me. Apparently she was busy. I am going to do something a little bit different now. We're going to take this bad boy, go Control C, Control V. Slide it down. I can actually get it pretty darn close. We're going to make 2 of the big ones. And then I want to take another one of these lines down. And let's see, we want to make the, because she actually wants it a little smaller so that she could put it on the car. So I'm thinking if I did 15 centimeters before, let's do 75 millimeters and go 7.5 centimeters. Take this bad boy and go Control C, Control V. And we're going to shrink that down to the smaller line. There we go. I want to take these 2 big boys right here, hold down Shift key, click the second one, and I want to move these down ever so not slightly. I'm going to take this and we're going to go Control C, Control V. There's probably a duplicate command for this, but for my purposes, this works fine. Just copy and paste, copy and paste. See if we can fit one more in there. Copy and paste. Alright. So now, that way I've got a few extras in case something screws up or whatever. Oop, cancel. Okay, so important thing to know if you've got Master Cut, Vinyl Master Cut, is when you've got something selected, it's going to do that. When you have nothing selected, it's all selected. So now you see, and I only want to do a quantity of 1 this time because otherwise it's going to start layering them because it's too wide for me to do more on the sheet. And this is actually slightly inaccurate because the actual width of the machine is that size, but the material that I'm working with is much smaller. It's only 61 centimeters wide or 610 millimeters. And you do usually want to leave a little bit of an edge so you can only work so close to the boundary confines. Now this is ready to be, I'm ready to send an area test over here. So what I'm going to be doing is taking the phone over to the unit and doing some recording of how I set it up. Okay, so this beast is my Titan 2. It's a very good vinyl cutter. Let's get her turned on. And as you will see, I do have it right next to the grundle. It's all good. That is making this, the lighting, and the computer all run right now. Enjoy it very much. So, taking this bad boy, this is the vinyl that came with it when I bought the machine. I'm still in that training and development phase, but I have made a little bit of custom order money off of this, which is an added thing. If you guys have custom stickers you are interested in, feel free to ask. So I'm pre-measuring roughly what I think I'm going to need, because it's always best to do that. Especially since my rolls are getting a little old. Life has been pushing on them because I never finished building the proper storage for them. That'll be a video. But you see me right now, or at least you should see me positioning this so that there's an overhang past the cutting area. It makes it so that it doesn't catch on the end. And zero that out with the enter key. Let's see, we want to up the speed a little bit. And let's do 84. That sounds good. Put a little more force behind it, because really I should be resetting the blade. I was using a thicker vinyl earlier. But speed and force, that should be adequate. Come over here, set up an area test, send area test, enter. I did pull enough of the vinyl out. Oh my god, if that's the speed, I'm so turning that up. That is the speed. Okay, so the area test is good. Increasing speed. 144 should do it. If that's too fast, we'll know very shortly. Cut now. Give it a go. Give it a go. Oh yeah, I could have probably doubled that speed. But slower cuts mean clean cuts, generally in my experience. I'm going to time-lapse this. There's a lot of this in vinyl work, unless you've got back-to-back projects, and then right now you'd be working on setting up the cuts for another one. But I'm going to be making myself another batch of coffee. Instant happiness. Do 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 do. Boom 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 boom. Boom boom boom. Like a boom 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 boom. All right, that finished, and it looks like at least some of them came out beautifully. So we are going to put you on manual mode, feed you down a little, take my handy dandy trusty razor blade, give us a tear. Future project, I definitely want to make a slicer that I attach to this, that I just rip sheet it. I'm sure they make them, but what's the fun in buying one? Turn off the cutter. Okay, so I have gotten my sheet of cuts off of the vinyl cutter. So now I'm going to be clearing my workbench where you're sitting and doing some weeding work to get the stickers revealed before I cover them with a transfer adhesive and cut them free. So, out of the way. So, for the rest of our process, this is all the materials I'm going to need. I've got an X-Acto blade for weeding through and picking out all the junk material and making sure everything's happy. Blue tape for taping down the edges so that the project stays straight and level while I'm working. Less important in this project, very important when doing multi-layered projects. A vinyl scraper squeegee thing for making sure that the glues have bonded and that there are no air bubbles. Also very important in doing multi-layer, but also in this process because I have to make sure that this adheres as good as possible, because it has a low quality adhesive designed to release the vinyl after you transfer it from the bonding wax paper layer you're going to see me exposing during the weeding process, which is removing excess vinyl. But that's it for this part of the process. So what you're going to see me do is tape down the corners of my project and start going through cutting out pieces of junk material. I am going to time lapse this because it can be a lengthy process sometimes. Sometimes it just comes apart. It depends on how you pre-cut it, which I had no pre-cuts marked from the machine. And I do that a lot when I'm doing larger batches, but on smaller individual projects I just hand weed it because it's easier than designing in lines where the cuts will, where you need assistance in cutting it free. So, we go. And you'll see me do things like making sure that I'm not putting the tape over anything that I want to keep. Generally, it's a good idea to start by pulling out all the little holes. And that looks almost adequate. Alright, change of plans. Breaking out the clear transfer tack. This is not the purpose that these are intended for, but it will at least come undone without tearing. And added bonus, this stuff's clear. Now you see me cutting the silhouette shapes once the second or the transfer paper has been applied. Alright, and as you can see I made 6 stickers. 2, well, 1 for sure, possibly 2 of these because the cover layer didn't go on right. This one's got, bring it in close, you can see there's a seam that was formed because I didn't put the paper down right and I creased it. I wouldn't be able to sell that. And I think I had 1 more in here that wasn't any good. And so I made 6 stickers and I was able to pull out 5 or 4 of them, and I had this much waste material from the process. Vinyl is not cheap and is cheap. It's one of those things, if you can get good to where you can cut down this pile and increase the quantity in this pile, it can be very profitable. But you will make a lot of mistakes, a lot of screw-ups, bad cuts, ruined stickers before you get good enough to even be as good as I am at it, and I am by no means a professional. The weeding is one of the biggest parts too, because that can spend a lot of time or very little time. That's partially dependent on setup, but largely based off of the skill of the person. So, that is how you make stickers. At least a very basic level for simple silhouette style stickers. So don't forget to do the thing down below and ring that bell over there. And I will catch you later.